Yeah, so listen, around 2-3 weeks ago, I uploaded a video called the, political ideology of every social media. It was a great video. I talked about every social media platform there is. I missed nothing. And I talked about the political ideology of it. And people loved it. You know, I liked it. And I think it was a great video. And there was nothing wrong with it. What is this? Fuck! Welcome to No Script Sunday, the show that comes out every Sunday. It comes out every single one, unless it doesn't. And today we're going to, I guess, add to a video I made earlier, which was, as I said, the social media platforms and their political ideology and so on and so forth. And I cannot fucking believe I didn't talk about 4chan. Well, to be honest, I kind of know why I forgot about it, because it's 4chan. You know, we all want to forget about it. And I succeeded, apparently, but my YouTube comment section brought it back up. You fucker. Either way, despite what I think about it, I understand 4chan is the cornerstone of internet and it has to be included in any list of famous social media platforms. You know, it single-handedly shaped the internet culture for many years and honestly, still kind of does. So here's for that. But first of all, what is 4chan? Hell. It's hell, yeah, yeah. Anywho, let's analyze 4chan's qualities. First of all, it's anonymity. Anyone can post anything and no one knows who said what. This normally is just a quirk of a website and it's kind of easy to program it. You know, you don't have to worry about accounts. But for our political discussion, an interesting aspect of anonymity is that there is no clout. There is no followers, there is no following, so there is no online hierarchy. In Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, you name it, follower count is the only thing that matters, all right? My entire self-worth is dependent on that number, so please subscribe if you don't want me to fucking... Anywho, yeah, that shit happens. People care about these numbers because big number good, low number bad. That's kind of what we've been doing since we were apes. So it kind of stuck around and it translated into the world of online and the social media. So that's what it is. But 4chan kind of removed that, and by that virtue, it also removed online hierarchy. Another interesting aspect of 4chan is how little the community and the website really cares about monetary value. You can't really monetize it, right? You can't get any money from your post. More importantly, because it's anonymous, you're not even going to get any sort of clout. You're not really going to make money in the long run if you keep posting cool shit. You know, there was Q from QAnon, and that motherfucker is still unknown. So you won't be known anyway. Another interesting aspect of 4chan that is important to mention is that it's community oriented. You can't really post anything anywhere. Well, you can post anything, but not anywhere. You have to go into specific boards for it. 4chan is basically created of a bunch of different boards because it's an image board website technically. So if you want to post something, it kind of has to relate to the topic of that board. So community, baby, let's fucking go. And lastly, the elephant in the room, 4chan is extremely unstable. There's almost no moderation. Everyone's posting anything regardless of who they are, where they are, because it's anonymous. So it's an absolute fucking anarchy. Wait a minute. No social hierarchy, no monetary value. It's oriented around communities and it's unstable. 4chan is anarcho-communism.
Well, it's Sister Jenny's turn to throw the bomb. Oh, well, the last one, it was thrown by Brother Tom. Oh, poor mother's aim is bad, and the cops say all no dad. So it's Sister Jenny's turn to throw the bomb. Sister Jenny, she came back and stood by her mother's side. Her little eyes were shining with a sort of girlish pride. She said, oh, tell me, mother, don't you think that I did well?
Well, yes, you did, and bless you, child, you blew them all to pieces.
Anarcho-communism is one of the main subclasses of communist ideology. It has many followers, many fans, and overall, many scholars. Inherently, the communist movement is a convoluted mess of nerd warfare. Marx and those who agreed with him wanted the Communist Party to unite the working class and organize revolutionaries, but Bakunin, one of the main figureheads of anarcho-communism movement, believed that would lead to authoritarianism. For example, Alexeyevich Kropotkin, one of the biggest scholars when it comes to anarchism, had this to say: I owe it to you to say frankly that according to my view, this effort to build a communist republic on the basis of strongly centralized state communism under the iron law of
party dictatorship is bound to end in failure. We are learning to know in Russia how not to introduce communism, even with a people tired of the old regime and opposing no active resistance to the experiments of the new rulers.
An aspect of anarcho-communism that I find very interesting is that between tangible political ideas, the political ideas that are not extreme or insane or just for goofs, but like the ones that have a following, have scholars, and they're actually a solid ideology, anarcho-communism feels almost impossible to implement. It's probably the hardest one to implement. When you have an ideology that is extremely antagonistic around the most famous hierarchical stuff in a society like money or power or government, it's very hard to try to topple the existing hierarchies via that ideology. You know what I mean? So if you have this big bad, the government, the monies, the Jeff Bezos, you kind of need a big hero to try to topple that over. However, anarchism, of course, argues for the idea of communities coming together, unless you're egoist, but that's a different ideology. But anarcho-communism technically goes with that all the commune comes together and we topple these, and I guess one of the most famous one, work in small communes, and we work with each other to get everything we need. That's all good and dandy. Counter argument, Trump won the popular vote. So, where is your commune? Yeah, I don't know. Every day I go online, I kind of realize that any community-oriented solution is kind of null. It's not going to happen, dude. It's pack it up. We as humanity kind of suck. Aliens, beam us the fuck up. Probe us, it's fine, we're already getting fucked down here, at least it's more interesting up there, I guess. Now, just as an example scenario, imagine one of the communities that you're working with that you love. They're great people, right? They're the number one out of the hundreds of other communities that you work with in this world, in this country. Well, sorry, no country, we don't believe in borders anymore. But one of these communities just decides to invent currency again. They're not gonna call it money, that's capitalist. No, they're gonna call it brownie points, as in, I will do something for you if you give me your brownies at lunch, and I will then loan that you promised me a brownie to someone else. Now I'm going to get the promise of brownie you made me and give it to someone else as a bond. Now that person is going to get a lot of promises of brownies around and kind of use it as a leverage to, I guess, have us do stuff, because if you don't give them brownies, then we're bad people, right? We kind of promised it, but it's okay. I will promise 2 million brownies. Now, I will never have 2 million brownies, but that doesn't really matter, right? I'm going to loan the future of myself to create capital now for exponential growth. Because with 2 million brownies at my disposal, I can buy every community. I'll just roll up to your community and say, I will give you 1 million brownies if you join me. And I guess start getting brownies from people. Congratulations, you made money.
This is known as the system of exchange problem. By the virtue of having even the smallest control over any sort of distribution of goods, one creates a level of authority that can be abused even if the authority is as lowly as a bookkeeper. To solve this issue, some say there will be a central exchange bank that all goods are stored in and shared. Some say each small factory, farm, or shop, or whatever you want to call it, can just decide on their own distribution, which can lead to a weird tit-for-tat system. And some, like Kropotkin, say that in an anarcho-communism society, production would be so high that there would be no rational reason to re-implement capitalism. Overall, I'm mentioning all of this here so you see the absolute depth of arguments and theories anarcho-communism has to offer. And no matter how much you think you know, someone has read more theory, as I'm sure my comment section will prove.
The very notion of anarcho-communism feels like a collapsing star. Beautiful, yet very dangerous. And with the current status of the world, this collapsing star feels extremely far away. We're talking about what would happen if it got implemented. It's extremely difficult to implement it in the first place. So that's why a lot of anarcho-communist people are accelerationists. Accelerationism, as I explained in my last video, is basically the idea that whatever goal you have, if it's too out of reach, instead of incremental improvements in the society or the culture or the political ideology you believe in order to get somewhere, maybe not this generation, but the next or the next one, you kind of fuck shit up, right? You destroy the whole fucking thing and then kind of roll the dice that afterwards your version of paradise is implemented. Now, will this happen? Probably. 99% of accelerationists quit before they hit the jackpot. Now, considering the Venn diagram of anarcho-communists and accelerationism is technically just one big circle, we could kind of tie this back to 4chan, with 4chan being an accelerationist platform, which is absolutely correct. Those people are accelerating human condition as we speak, and just more points to why 4chan is an anarcho-communist website. However, I can hear you. You're saying, Ash, you look great today. You look great too, man. It's you know what? We should compliment each other more. You have a huge it's 1 a.m. Anywho, you say, Ash, hi, dude. Anarcho-communism is a leftist ideology. I've been on that platform. There's a lot of racism and homophobia. That doesn't really feel leftist. Why not? A very interesting thing that has happened is that the idea of left and right are somehow opted by also cultural reasoning. So for example, if you're pro-minorities, pro-LGBTQ communities, or pro-environment, you're a leftist. But if you are a Christian, or pro-human trafficking, you are a right-winger. Now this is very interesting because fundamentally right and left are just an economical stance. You know, the more left you go, the less hopeful you are for the idea of capitalism, and the more right you go, the more you jack off to it. That's technically it. So yeah, you absolutely can be a racist, misogynistic, homophobic piece of shit and still be a leftist, as long as you don't like capitalism and you want the society and communities to kind of work together without any sort of monetary incentives. Then yeah, there you go. You're a leftist. You're a piece of shit, but you're leftist. But there's a reason for it, that why in the cultural consensus, the idea of leftist and a right-winger also includes, I guess, cultural takes. Right now, the world is relatively very right-wing. I'm not talking about America or Europe. Those are also relatively right-wing. I'm talking about Africa, Middle East, fucking South America. Most of the places are very authoritarian and relatively right-wing. So being right-wing is the default, is the status quo. And if you are a conservative, you want to conserve it. So right now, conservatism usually means being pro-capitalism, because that's what you're trying to conserve. Capitalism. And since you're conservative, that's not the only thing you want to conserve. Not only the economical stance of a society, you want to control other stuff like women's bodies, for example. You know, that's a good topic. Let's do that. Now, if you're progressive in these cultural issues, you are more likely to also be progressive on other areas as well. You're already in the gear, right? You can just go one step farther and actually be more progressive about economic issues. A lot of progressives in their political journey at some point reach the conclusion that a lot of these cultural issues stem from capitalism. So you cannot really solve them unless capitalism is away. Most famous one being Greta Thunberg with environmentalism. She used to be the poster child of media. Everyone loved her till she realized that most of the Earth's problems in environmental sense is because money. And then she went against money, and then money didn't like her. So she's a terrorist now, apparently, I've been told. So yeah, if you're progressive on more issues, it's more likely that you're also progressive on economical issues. And if you're conservative on most issues, you're also probably conservative on economical stuff. So that's why the idea of left and right doesn't just include economical stuff, it includes everything. But in this video, we're kind of studying the underlying political theory of a lot of these ideologies. So 4chan having a leftist ideology like anarcho-communism has nothing to do with its cultural consensus, has nothing to do with how people on that platform behave, because the underlying theories of economical stuff and hierarchy stuff, especially when it comes to anarchism and I guess communism, have almost nothing to do with being gay. You know, that's just not a thing. Or is it? There are a lot of political ideologies and themes that kind of combine economical issues and cultural issues. For example, Marxist feminism, one of the most famous pillars of feminism, believes that misogyny is rooted into capitalism. That is the reason I always say that the political compass is absolute bullshit. There is no singular dot you can be. Everything is mixed. It's a spectrum of 8D dimension of absolute madness, and that's why it's fucking fun. You can cherry pick anything, combine it together, boom! You got a new fucking thing! Ain't that fucking cool? I know the ship is fucking wrecked and we're burning down, but we can have some s'mores, I guess? So yeah, I am going to make a video oversimplifying political ideologies and adding them to some random fucking themes like social media. Of course I'm gonna do it, because if I don't, I'm gonna fucking hang my... What was the lesson of this video? Fuck all, it's 2 a.m. and I'm tired. But basically, 4chan exists. It exists beyond hope, beyond understanding, beyond manner and logic. It exists like anarcho-communism. Even though you can talk a lot, bring a lot of sources, argue, debate over the existence of such ideology or platform, it still exists, and it will continue to do so, because it's the soul that matters. I am not a fan of what 4chan has done. But if I had a button that if I pressed it, 4chan would be gone forever, I'd chuck that shit into the fucking ocean. We need 4chan. It's not good, but it's a medicine. We need to see what the pure soul of humanity and the collective consciousness of all of us with pure anonymity, with pure desire of pure fire within our own selves represents itself. Like this. This is human. Thanks for watching.